Okay, so there is a lot to unpack on this video, and I know the title is New York hospitals, lotteries, and this and that, but there's a lot more to it. Like Alabama, later on in this article, you'll see is discussing things like if two people go to the hospital and one is what society calls normal and the other has a mental disability, they would give the ventilator to the so-called normal person, and because the other person has a mental disability, they wouldn't give a ventilator to them. What? Since when does having a mental disability preclude you from the right to live? Not good. New York hospitals could use lotteries for ventilators in an extreme shortage during coronavirus emergency, and other states plan to deny access to those with cancer or a mental disability. There's no national protocol for ventilators, and each state has to choose their own. For New York, their compassionate, what do they call it? Compassionate law says it's based upon who might better recover. Not the diagnosis, but who out of the people in the lottery might better recover. Yeah. State emergency plans to ration ventilators if the virus pandemic worsens are raising thorny ethical questions as New York considers lotteries for access to the machines, and other states contemplate denying them to those with mental disabilities. Think about that. That's richest nation in the world, and we are triaging who lives and who dies based upon if they have pre-existing conditions or a mental condition. Okay. That doesn't sound right. The White House says that as yet no one has been denied a ventilator who needed one, but as the crisis deepens, several states are putting grim plans in place to ration the vital machines. So how about let's start by having a whole bunch of businesses tasked to make these machines, businesses that make sense to make these machines, that they don't have to retrofit, they can just slide into making them. Obviously there'll be a little bit retrofit for some companies, but it sounds to me like we need to start making ventilators, and maybe part of this stimulus package should have been to get businesses, maybe even force businesses at this point, to make ventilators. I know a few car manufacturers are going to make ventilators, but right now it doesn't seem like that is enough. In New York, the state's ethical guidelines for allocating ventilators in a pandemic call for devoting scarce resources to the patients who are most likely to be saved. However, the New York report concluded that in the rare case when multiple patients are equally likely to recover, but there are limited resources to help them, hospitals should utilize random selection, i.e., lottery methods. I can't believe we're actually talking about that in the richest nation in the world. The panel concluded that a lottery was more equitable than treating people on a first-come, first-served basis, which could disadvantage those who are of lower socioeconomic means, who may not have access to information about the pandemic or reliable transportation, or minority populations who might initially avoid going to a hospital because of distrust of the healthcare system. Okay. The New York guidelines are not binding, and hospitals there are already forming their own ethic panels to determine how to ration care in the event of a critical shortage, a scene that has already played out tragically in Italy. Yes. We do not want to get to Italy's place. Italy is now in second place above China, but their deletion rate is quite a bit higher. The reason their deletion rate is quite a bit higher is because they're having to choose who they cannot save. When you get to that point, you're obviously going to have a higher deletion rate. Meanwhile, in the absence of national protocols, states around the country have been devising their own, some of which have drawn outrage from disability rights activists, advocates. Excuse me. On Tuesday, Alabama's emergency operations plan for mechanical ventilator triage was the subject of complaint to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office for Civil Rights. Yes, because they were saying people with mental disabilities shouldn't be treated. In the event of a crisis shortage, the Alabama protocol lists several health conditions for which providers should not offer mechanical ventilator support, including heart failure. Okay, I got you. I understand that. Respiratory failure. Okay, I got that. Metastatic cancer. Okay, why? It also says persons with severe mental retardation, advanced dementia, or severe traumatic brain injury may be poor candidates for ventilator support. Why mental retardation? They're human beings. Just because they have mental retardation, they're not mentally sound as far as what society concerns, does not mean that their life is less valuable, or that they are a drain on society, or that they don't contribute to society. That's retarded. I know plenty of individuals who have lower mental capacities, who are awesome individuals, who I trust more than a lot of normal people. So I think that's bullshit, yeah. Those categories could include people with Alzheimer's, as well as people of any age with disabilities such as Down syndrome. Okay. Yeah. Right, because that makes fucking sense, because, what, Down syndrome people don't do any... Oh, wait, no, Down syndrome people do things and do become successful and do open restaurants and things like that. Outraging disability rights advocates. I'm saying that because there is a Down syndrome couple in, I believe it was Chicago, that opened up a very successful restaurant. Alabama is poised to make life and death decisions that will deny needed medical treatment to countless individuals based entirely on their underlying disabilities, the complaint said. The mere fact that a person has an intellectual or cognitive disability cannot be a basis for denying care or making that person a lower priority to receive treatment. I agree. I understand the need where if someone is going to physically delete anyways because of some other complication, and you have another individual who needs this ventilator and they will most likely recover. I understand that. But just someone coming in and just them having Down syndrome, you turn them away from the possibility of even having it just for having a Down syndrome, regardless of their physical status. What if they recover and the person you give it to ventilator because they're mentally sane according to society, and they die? And then the Downs person who could have lived if you gave him the ventilator dies. Well, now you've killed two people based solely upon their mental state? No, that's not right. In this time of crisis, we cannot devalue the lives of others in our community based on their disabilities. It's morally wrong and it violates the law, said James Tucker, director of the Alabama Disabilities Advocacy Program, in a statement. And I agree. I absolutely agree. That makes no sense to me. None. That's saying that based upon their mental thing, you are not triaging people based upon their physical capabilities of recovering. You are triaging people based upon their ability to contribute to society as far as you perceive their ability to contribute to society. If a Downs person comes in and they are somewhat healthy, but they need the ventilator and they're most likely going to recover, but they have Down syndrome, and a normal-minded person as far as society is concerned comes in and they are worse off physically, you would still help the person worse off physically that physically appears like they won't recover, and you'll deny the Down syndrome person? That's triaging people based upon their societal contributions. That's bullshit. The group pointed to 37-year-old Matthew Foster, a resident of Vestavia Hills, Alabama, as an example of someone with Down syndrome who could be affected by the state's emergency plan. When Matthew was told about this policy, he responded, "I have Down syndrome. It's not going away, but I have a right to live. I'm worth it," the group said in a statement. Matthew, who has held a job for the past 20 years, has enormous gifts and talents because of his disability, not in spite of it, his mother, Susan Ellis, according to the group. He's had a positive impact on our family and community. The idea that his life is not worthy because of his intellectual disability is devastating and wrong, she said. Yes, they're valuing worth based upon what they perceive someone's capability of contributing to society is. Societal selection. Disability rights groups also filed a complaint with the Office for Civil Rights on Monday in regard to Washington State's emergency protocol. The complaint says guidance distributed by Washington State Department of Health last week recommends that triage teams consider transferring hospital patients with loss of reserves in energy, physical ability, cognition, and general health to outpatient or palliative care, meaning go home and treat yourself. Great. Trump said Friday that he is using wartime federal authority to force production of up to 100,000 ventilators. It's not enough. Trump made the comment just hours, and we should have had this done last week. Trump made the comment just hours after announcing he was invoking the Defense Production Act to force General Motors to produce ventilators under government contracts. We are prepared for things that nobody has any idea that we're prepared, Trump said at the White House. Yeah. I would not want to be one of these doctors triaging people at this time. I wouldn't want to be. But based solely upon someone's mental capacity rather than their physical ability to recover or not, that's not right. That's selecting people based upon what society deems is normal and getting rid of people that society deems as abnormal. I don't know. That doesn't sound right to me. It doesn't sit well with me. It just doesn't. But that's what I got for you on this one, and I definitely would like your opinions. Where do you stand? This is some drastic stuff for the most rich nation in the country to be doing. This is nuts. I love you guys, and I will see you on the next one.